Hi, welcome to ADI Technical Training. I'm Matthew. In this video I'm looking at the Ultratech power supply specifically designed for access control controllers or ACUs. In particular I'm looking at the 6-way power supply unit. This housing has a unique design where up to 6 controllers from specific brands and the battery can be housed in single containment. The PSU houses up to 6 Paxton controllers. They can be the Net2 controllers, the I/O boards, the Net2 entry boards, Net2 entry repeaters, or Paxton 10 controllers. Okay, let's have a look at the wiring of the board. So on the board, when you get the controller, there's 2 boards inside. There's the main board at the top, which is the power supply rectifier, and then below that there's the relay board. Power supply rectifier on the top left is an input for mains, top right is an output that goes to the relay board and an output to the battery. So let's have a look at the relay board, the output board. On the top right there's an input that says trigger. So the purpose of that trigger input is when an input is received, a suitable input is received, it will affect the outputs. Now there's 8 outputs. These outputs can be controlled by this input. So if you give it an input, or either all 8 outputs can be turned off, or the selected inputs can be turned off. So on some doors you might have fail-safe locks or fail-secure locks, or maybe you're going to set this up where 2 outputs are just to supply power to the ACUs, and the other 6 outputs are going to control power for your locking devices. So that way, if the power is cut to the locking devices, it stays on for the controllers. Most problems we get in tech support are controls being turned on and off or not cycled properly. So if you keep the power on, it will help with startup when the fire alarm's cleared. So the inputs can be triggered positive or negative from a separate source. They can be normally open input or normally closed input. Most people would argue that normally closed input is the best way to do it, so the input's always closed, and when it goes open, the outputs will be affected. The input trigger can be dictated. There's a set of jumpers, 2 jumpers, jumpers 9 and 10, just above the trigger input. As standard, 9 and 10 are both plugged in, so it's a normally open input. But using the selections you see there, you can select the input type, whether it's normally open, normally closed, apply positive, applied negative from a separate source. Once you've made those changes, that's it, that's the input trigger configured. Above each output there's a jumper. If you remove that jumper, that output will not be affected by the trigger input. So if you, for instance, if you remove jumpers 1 and 4, when the fire alarm input is triggered, outputs 1 and 4 will stay powered. So perhaps you're going to power the banks of controllers 1 to 3 from output 1 and the banks of controllers 3 to 6 from output 4. That means they will always receive power no matter what. The controls will stay online, but the output for the locking, which can go on the separate relay output of the Net2 controller, will be cut. So you're going to cut the power to all the locking devices, but keep the power intact for the access controllers. So by doing that, we're going to keep the controller stable. We don't need to worry about things like DHCP or cold start or restart problems. The controller's always powered. The LEDs will be on the readers as well, so people know the condition of the doors. And there we are. That's the Ultratech UT-ACCESS-PSU-6, looking at the configuration and output to suit access control. Thanks very much for watching. All the products mentioned in this training video can be found on our website. Links are below. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much.